even before we killed the sales calls altogether, we used to have a sales team of 9 and now there's 0 people. If you only sell the way that your prospects are used to buying, like there's an advantage in that for sure, but in the end, you want to build a business that's right for you, not the business that's right for somebody else. Often things don't go wrong on the sales call. They go wrong with how the sales call was set up in the first place. We've been talking about calls and chat. There's definitely an option 3, which is,
are sales calls dead in 2025? Well, Taki Moore thinks so, and he's got the receipts. After firing his entire sales team, Taki replaced phone calls with Google Docs and built a 37 million coaching empire using a completely different playbook. In this episode, we break down how he sells high-ticket programs with 0 calls, why marketing, not sales, is a real growth engine, and how his magic model has helped hundreds of coaches scale without funnels, burnout, or complexity. If you want to build a coaching business that prints cash without chasing leads or living in your DMs, this episode is for you. Where I want to start is what was the real driver, or what was the indicator that you could move from sales calls to sell by chat?
a couple of things. So even before we killed the sales calls altogether, we used to have a sales team of 9 and now there's 0 people. But way before that, like 10 years ago, way before that, 15 years ago, way before that, we were using chat. I'd seen a friend of mine, like very few of these ideas are like brand new. They're like collected. I like this from here and I like that from here. And if I combine them like this, it turns into a thing. So a guy I knew way back when I first got started was a dude called Ari Galpa, who put live chat software on his website, and his team would just sit there and like have conversations with people. And I kind of got to see that this ping pong backwards and forwards could get someone who was like on the fence to like add to cart and buy a thing. So I'd seen that. And then many years ago, I saw Dean Jackson talk about email dialogue. He was doing this thing with real estate agents, and he showed me a conversation thread backwards and forwards by email with someone who was thinking about buying a house. And it was over a few weeks, but it was like, hey, you're still thinking about buying a house in certain location? Yeah. And they just went boop, 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 and right through to like visit the house and pay the money. And I was like, this is incredible. And so I did it on email way before I did it on Messenger and then Instagram. So that's where the thing came. So sell by chat, we've been doing it for a long ass time. The mistake I made was I had this belief that you could only sell something by chat if it was less than $2,000. It's like one of those bullshit rules that we make up in our head that sounds right because I hadn't seen it done. And then one of our clients had 2 products, a cheap thing and an expensive thing. And the cheap thing was sold by VAs on chat, and if there was leads for the big thing, they'd like, book an appointment with the sales team for the big thing. And the sales guys got really upset because the chat guys kept selling the $36,000 big thing by chat and skipping them. I was like, holy crap, I didn't know that wasn't even, so that just like shifted my idea about what was possible. And then I just had this, heaviness about how to sales team, and they were self-managing, but I just felt like they worked really, really hard for the results that we were getting or not getting. And I think about the way I buy, like you're the content guy, like I discover something, or the for me page finds something for me. And that's interesting. I go down the rabbit hole, and then I'm just looking for like, there's got to be something I can purchase here. And most people on their website will just have like the entry level thing, and the gateway to get to the big thing is a call. And there's been a couple of times just in the last year where I've seen the cheap thing, but found a way to get the founder's phone number or email and or WhatsApp, and just gone, hey, I see this thing, but I want the best thing you've got. How do I buy that? Oh, you can't. Like, well, I have to. And so just realizing that you don't have to, it doesn't have to be sales calls, and it doesn't have to be the traditional funnel. We can go straight. The best people just want the best thing, and they're mostly interested in speed.
It's so interesting to observe, right? Because if you're adding in the friction, that's almost getting people to turn off from you completely. If you truly just like want the thing. And I'm reminding of a software that I was getting for a company recently, about 2-3 months ago. And I used the free version, or like the $49 version. And it was great. Like, it was fantastic. And I really enjoyed it. And the UI was great. And I wanted to buy like the enterprise software. Just enterprise just means anyone more than 4 people. And I was, for the most part, ready to do it, but I had to book a call. And I was like, oh, fuck's sake. And then I hopped on a call, and it was a 19-year-old closer in Canggu. And this guy was like trying to like basically tell me that like I was like a bad person if I wasn't doing it. Like, he was kind of putting me in a position that I was like a bad person. And the software was actually 10K. It was 10K for the year. And I always think about it. If I didn't go through that process, I would have bought it.
Of course. Yeah, they unsold you.
Yes, exactly. But then sometimes I think then in like the opposite lens, being like, if I looked at it and it was 10K and it was just shown to me, would I, shit my pants, lose my mind, to quote Anton Creel, and then just say, I'm not going to do anything? So how do you kind of find like that balance, right? Because there's some people that are like, oh, I only talk to someone, like, chat, a chat bot. People are like, I just need the live agent. But then there's some people like you and me that are like, I just want to see the buy button. So how do you think about that problem? Just want to take one quick break to ask you one question. Have you been enjoying these episodes? Because if you have, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel so that more people can see these episodes and be influenced to build an online business this year. Thank you.
So I think we make 2 big mistakes. As I'm going to say coaches, that's my world, but most people either we assume everyone's hot and we like hard close, or we assume everyone's not and we like nurture and we go softly, softly, softly. And the mistake is that, everyone's this or everyone's that. And the truth is that there's a whole spectrum. So I think at very minimum, we should put a fast mode option for the people who are ready right now. And like, give the people who are ready right now a chance to do what they actually want. And all of the steps in your funnel are just friction points which get in the way. And then you've got they're the now buyers. And then you've got the later buyers. And the later buyers do need, more education, more reassurance, more whatever, or a different style of sales process. But let's not let the belief that everyone's not ready slow the people who are ready and would have bought it yesterday if they could.
So if you take a step back for that as well. So in the coaching space, it's very logical, right? It's like, okay, I've seen Taki. I know you talk about X, Y, Z. There's an attraction piece. There's this piece. We have a mini conversation. Do you think this expands to nearly all industries and all platforms? You talked about it. You talked about email, right? And it's funny because for our sponsorships, you'll find this interesting. We sell sponsorships on behalf of podcasts, and we've actually done $200,000 in a transaction that was actually through email. Now, beforehand, there was some pre-faming and everything, right? But email in that regard works well. And then when some people come into our ecosystem, they're like, is that all on email? I'm like, yes. So I like to how do you think about that? Because one thing that I was working on one of our clients during the week was, I'd love to get your opinion on this, is buying consumption and buying patterns of people. Let me give you an example. One of our clients has a luxury real estate SEO business agency based in America. Luxury real estate agents are, for the most part, they click on a website and then they see a book a call funnel, and they're so used to dialing that they want to dial. So this guy books a shit ton of calls off his VSL. And then he's kind of suggesting like, oh, okay, that's there. Can I also do sell by chat on LinkedIn? How would you think about that problem, right? Because like, let's say buying consumption of the user.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is that we've been talking about calls and chat, and there's an option. I'm sure there's like an option 7, but there's definitely an option 3, which is neither, which is like us right now. There's no calls. There's nobody. I can't do calls because I don't have a sales team. I'm very happy about it. I can't do chat because I don't have a sales team. I'm very happy about it. And so now it's just like media to a VSL and an offer. And that's like the dream because it's like fully hands off. So for your SEO person, I understood the context, but is the question, can they do chat on LinkedIn, or is the question something else?
The question is kind of, how do you approach people's regular buying consumptions? Like if people are buying a very expensive like SEO service and they're used to getting people on a call and they're used to that buying consumption, that buying pattern, how would you break that? Like, how do you overcome that to your prospect who's like, oh, I'm ready to go, but let's hop on a call. And you're like, no, I don't do that. How do you approach that?
Yeah. So sometimes we'll get hey, can we jump on a call? And the short answer is no. Obviously, we're nice about it. I think that this is maybe counterintuitive, but if you only sell the way that your prospects are used to buying, like there's an advantage in that for sure. But in the end, you want to build a business that's right for you, not the business that's right for somebody else. And so I think I'm sure you've had interactions with businesses that have weird rules, but you kind of respect that about them. Like there's this Italian restaurant we used to go to called Bar Italia in Sydney, and there's like no credit cards, no decaf, no split orders. It's just like you go there and they're old Italian guys, and that's how it runs. And you're like, well, this is just the rules here, and I fucking love that. I think like there's not enough businesses that have these are the rules here. And so when we made we've had a few evolutions, and now I don't need to convince people why they don't need a call, but I think you can use it as an advantage, which is you don't even need to, you don't need a scammy sales call. You can just click and read all the details, and if it's for you, off you go. And if it's not, you'll know in 12 seconds. It's an advantage.
And I think what's interesting, again, this is what I've learned from James, is the market has adapted to understanding what coaching is. They understand that there's a coaching process. They understand there's a school community. They understand that there's training material. So people from one of your reels, people know what a trap is, right? When a free call is disguised as a discovery call.
Nobody thinks it's really a free coaching session anymore. Maybe in 1952, but not anymore.
So how do you think the market has adjusted market levels of awareness of coaching, so that they've seen like the sophistication of like funnels and processes and tripwires and so on? Like, what have you observed quite recently?
Well, I think number one, unless they're brand new into it, we're in a market that's very sophisticated. And one of the advantages is A, not doing what everyone else does, and B, kind of poking fun at the traditional way. Oh, this page is my tripwire. This is where I'm going to get you to spend $3 to get something useful, so I can invite you to do something else later. Like, that's refreshingly honest. Best marketing movie of all time is called Crazy People. I think it's Peter Cook or Dudley Moore. It's freaking old. But there's this guy who writes advertisements for a living, like mostly billboards and newspaper and print stuff. And he just gets sick of lying to people. And so he writes, finally exasperated, he writes like a bunch of like super honest campaigns. Like there's an ad for Volvos, and it's like, buy Volvos. They're boxy, but they're good. And like, it's just honest, right? One for cigarettes. It's like, shouldn't something that might give you cancer actually deliver real flavor? Amalfi Super Thins, pulmonary cancer, perhaps. Flavor, for sure. There's something that's magic about being open and honest and real with people, that it's so refreshingly bereft of bullshit that I think people just resonate with. And I think when you're in a sophisticated market, either you've got to get cleverer and cleverer and cleverer and cleverer, or you just go the exact opposite direction. You and I were chatting before we started recording about Rory Sutherland. You do the exact opposite. And you just explain to people in plain English, like, I'm not going to insult your intelligence. I'm not going to make you jump through some 7-step funnel or da-da-da-da. I'm going to tell you how it is. And if it's for you, you do it. And people are like, that feels amazing. And then guess what? They're more likely to say yes, because you're the dude who's been honest.
I wanted to pull up the example of, did you see the watch that was like on a billboard? And it's just like a really standard watch. And it says, know the time without seeing you have 1,249 unanswered emails. It's just like, it cuts through the noise. I think that's where, like, the best coaches, the best entrepreneurs, they kind of rise through the top, because they're able to find that unique angle and unique mechanism as a result from there. One thing that I really love about your work as well, you mentioned around like sales calls, or no, sales calls. Sales problems are often marketing problems. And looking at like the Naval quote, and I saw Dan Henry talk about this too as well. Why is that?
Well, almost every problem can be solved with like emergency trauma surgery right now, or you could go upstream a little bit and figure out what went wrong in the first place. And so this is the difference between like trying to reframe a problem that's happened and just trying to pre-frame it early. You could, like, one of those little eyedroppers, one drop of pre-frame is worth, a massive like tub of reframe. And so often things don't go wrong on the sales call. They go wrong with how the sales call was set up in the first place. And so Cialdini wrote a book called Persuasion. It's like persuasion. It's what do we do before? I got great at marketing because I was shit scared of selling. Like, just terrified of it. Had probably a bunch of money hangups. I was certainly terrified of asking for money. I was scared of rejection. And I was like, when I first got started, I was like, if I can get good at marketing, then sales will be easier, maybe even unnecessary. I'm not scared of selling right now. I'm very happy to do it. But I just know that if you get the marketing piece right, the sales is easy. And so there's a lot of people like talking about selling by docs right now, and it's fantastic. We love our offer in a doc. It's fantastic. And the person I know who sells the most by doc has the worst doc I think I've ever seen in my life. But why does it work? Well, it works because the dude's like built an incredible brand, and I don't mean a logo. I mean like an incredible following, super consistent, amazing content, a huge following. And so, the offer doesn't have to be good because people already know that I get to work with this guy and it's going to be amazing. And so the problem is almost always upstream.
That's amazing. So like, let's look at that from like a positioning perspective, right? So the marketing has to be dialed in. Let's use our friends Owen and Lee as an example. If they're helping barbers book more calls and increase their revenue and decrease their costs in their barber shop, right? So they're running a barber shop, a brick and mortar store. The positioning of that, how would you take that example so that they can pre-sell people and then ensure that every type of conversation or eyeballs on their offer doc is aligned to is hot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So part of it is about where this fits in process. So if you just go, if marketing's job, if there's a spectrum from like 1 to 10 in terms of how likely somebody is to sign up and give you money, like, these guys are cold, these guys are warm, these guys are hot. If marketing, if we try to sell when someone's a 1, 2, or 3, it's going to be hard work and it's going to feel like you're pushing and they'll push back and we triggered that. So it almost doesn't matter what I think it's less about what the messaging is, although it's important. I just think it's about the number of minutes of you that they consume before they are on that sales mechanism. So I had this client called Sharan, super good guy in the real estate space. And he got his head of marketing to like review all of the stats of all the people who bought a course, a coaching program, a product in the last 2 years. So I go, okay, let's see if we can figure out what the commonalities are so we can do more of that. And so dude goes away, does all the research, and it's not the demographics, it's not the ads, it's not the funnels. They're all like, there's nothing there that's like stands out as like, that's the thing. He goes, well, the only thing I can see that they've all got in common is every single one of the people who bought consumed at least 47 minutes of our stuff. So, oh, that's interesting. And some of them consumed it in a day, like found you and binged, and some of them was like weeks or months or years. So it's like, okay, well, let's see if that's a thing. And so they split test. Same lead magnet, same ad, same everything. They split test. So group A, group B. Group A goes through the exact same funnel as they always have, the normal like new lead sequence thing. And group B, they just took a bunch of their existing assets. So some short form vids, some long form vids, some email, some podcast episodes, compressed into like this 30-day window. They weren't super strategic about it, but the whole goal was like, how do we get everyone on the list to consume 47 minutes of our stuff quickly? And if we could speed it up, can we increase the buyers? It's like simple test, really fun. So they ran this thing for 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, group B bought twice as often as group A. And the conversion rate on sales calls was 40% higher. And the only metric they changed was time on brand. I used to think that it was about how long someone's on your list. That's not. Time on your list is just a proxy for how much time do they spend on your brand. We call it Brandwidth. It's just the number of minutes someone spends in your world. And so I think if I'm Lee or I'm anyone else, the core goal is how do I get people immersed into my world, binging, because if they binge, they'll buy.
It's funny. Can you walk me through the 47 minutes versus the 7-hour principle? Where did you land on 47 minutes?
I think they're both arbitrary numbers. I don't think it's 47 minutes for everyone.
Everyone just made it up.
No, well, Google did research, and for them it was 7 hours across 11 touch points and 4, whatever it was, channels. And Sharan's number was 47. The fact that there's not a number, that's the number. The idea of both of those is completely correct. For Sharan, it was 47 minutes. For, maybe Sharan's just better at whoever the average that Google was researching. I don't know. But this fundamentally shifted the way that we've been thinking about marketing and selling. The old us a year or so ago looked like this. If you think about sales and marketing, we were like salespeople working really, really hard. Having to like, squeeze every drop of juice out of every lead and like work every deal and do all the follow-ups and all that stuff. Why? Well, because the marketing wasn't doing its job. And so if that was, let's just make a little line here. If that was us, then we know that the better the marketing is, the less sales you have to do. And so now we've gone like, we're all the way down here where there's marketing is crushing right now. We've been closed for the last 3 weeks, like doors shut. Somehow 12 people bought a $30,000 program and I don't even know where they found the link. Because marketing's, dude, it's mental. Marketing's working. Sales is like, when marketing is good, sales is easy, sometimes unnecessary.
Let's double tap on the follow through into conversion. So marketing's dialed in, and I've seen you pounding YouTube again, so that's awesome to see as well. Just the increase
we
in
just
volume.
got started like 8 weeks ago. It's going great.
and also the way that you're putting into videos too are very aligned. Like the alignment is very strong. How do we move them from just marketing sitting on the sidelines into purchasing, because we don't want to do heavy CTAs and looking for 5 more people vibe every single day? How do you do that? How did you do that?
Okay, so the mistake people make is they think about the podcast or the YouTube as the podcast or the YouTube. They don't see it as like a part of a journey. And the missing bit, like, what are the fundamentals? We need a great product, of course. To get people to say yes to the great product, we need a great offer, of course. To get people to see the great offer, we usually got great content. But what people miss are the bridges, and the bridges don't have to be super sophisticated. I was on Zoom this morning with with our clients. There's a great guy called Christian, and he's been leading into Brandwidth since he heard me talk about it a year ago. And so he's got, it's not a massive channel, but there's like a few thousand watches a month or a week or whatever. So it's going good for a guy who's like getting started. He's like, so yeah, I'm getting all these listeners on my podcast and all these views on YouTube. Lots of really, really good feedback. It's not translating into buyers. I'm like, that's interesting. Let's bring up your YouTube. So we bring it up on the screen, and I just look at a few of his things, and they're great, but there's no bridge. Like, nowhere does it say, hey, if you like this, you'll love that. I mean, it's very straightforward. So you just want to think about what the bridges are. And in our world, each of our YouTube videos will have, most of them will have like 2 next steps, 2 invitations people can take. One is for a content upgrade, which is like, hey, I've loved this. If you love this content, we built this tool to help you implement it faster. More recently, they are custom GPTs that were built to help people implement the stuff. And so we add to email list there. And so that's a bridge into email. There's some clever little CTAs in the GPT, but that's a conversation. They do really well. But the core CTA for us is like, if you think about, there's people consuming content and there's people looking at an offer, whether it's on a call. For us, it's in a doc. There's this VSL that that I shot, which is kind of explains, hey, if we're going to work together, this is what we'd work on, and this is how it works. These are some people who have done it. And so it's like, here are the problems you've got. Here's the promise that we make. Here's the process that we go through, and here's a bunch of proof. And so the bridge for us is, if people have been watching video, chances are, a video is probably a good a good next action. And that sets up okay, now I know about the program and I can read the offer if I want to.
It's funny because, ideally, well, ironically, in the beginning of our program, it was about content. And the biggest thing was like, we didn't want people to be just creators. Like, we're not making Jake Pauls, right? That wasn't the idea of our thing.
No.
It was for business owners.
Yep.
So
You're
the biggest thing is
who makes content, not a content owner who's trying to, who doesn't have a business.
Exactly. And I call it like it's like the ligament in your knee, right? The ligament in your knee that connects like the top of your leg and the bottom of your leg. There has to be like a bridge. There has to be like an island to move people between it. Yeah. Connective tissue. That's actually the term that I use. And what's ironic here is like, I have found a lot of people get caught in like the content world. So the content, I'm just going to create more content and that will do things. Or the offer procrastination world, which is like next step, which is like, I'm just refining my doc, I'm refining my landing page, I'm refining my Notion doc. Like, how have you seen like the power of when people just like run more offers? Now, let me give you an example. at our mastermind, James was speaking to one of our clients, and the guy basically just the answer to all of his problems was like he just needs to honestly give more offers to people because he's getting so much inbound. He's not actually just being like, hey, we have this $1,000 product or $5,000 product. Do you want it? And James's suggestion was like, you could literally do it 50 to 100 times a day because he was getting so much inbound that was coming. How have you thought about that when people kind of sit in like offer procrastination land, and how do we get them to just really execute to get results? Because you've had some amazing results, right?
Yeah, some mental things. So the people who, this is the challenge of being smart, is the smarter you are, the more you think being smart is the answer and you overthink things. Some of my most successful clients, not all of them, I've got a bunch of really smart, successful clients, but I just want to not diss my best clients here. You guys are really smart. But there's a magic power in doing the stuff. And so I don't know how an individual does it. I'll tell you how I think about it for me, and I'll tell you first about what we do with clients. So if we're teaching let's just say we're doing something kind of lead gen offerish with our clients. So the steps are quick teach. Here's what it is. Here's the template. And then we get them to apply the template, and then together we tweak it. So it's like teach, template, tweak. And then we have this magic tool called a 3-minute timer that comes up on the screen, and their job's to post it now or send it now or shoot it now. And there's nothing like clear instructions. So you're confident about it. You've showed it to somebody and they've gone, yep, that's good, tweak this. And then public pressure to do it now. And the first time this happens, like the very first session with us on the kickoff call, they'll have an offer out before the call's done, and they'll have leads before the call's done. And the moment they have it, like, this dude expects me to do it, I'm like, you're officially in black belt the moment you hit send on this thing. Until then, you're just somebody on my Zoom. And so we just build an environment. So like, one of my roles, one of the hats I wear on a Friday on Zoom with my clients is sometimes I'm teacher, often I'm group bootcamp instructor. So like you go to a fitness class, it's not like 75 minutes on the biomechanics of push-ups. It's like, okay, we're going to do push-ups. This is what a push-up looks like. Show me one. Great. Now do 10. And that's my job.
That's super interesting. It just breaks down all of that. I need like thinking about it in their brain, right? I think that was one of the reasons why I could do anything in my life, which is I didn't have time to be like, I'm just going to think about this.
That's the magic of a clock, right? It's like, oh shit, it's going. This is real. I need to run. And so if we can move faster than your excuses can overthink it, we're in good shape. I think if you've got a tendency, and you don't, but someone watching or listening might, if you've got a tendency to kind of overthink, something I learned from Dan Sullivan, a strategic coach, was really useful. And he said, if you work, let's say you work really hard on something for a month, you put your best work into it. When you look back on it later, you're probably like, it's about 80% good. So it's not perfect. It's about 80%. If you get the first draft done fast, in like 5 minutes or an hour or whatever, depending on the size of the job, looking back on it, it's probably 80% good. So the only difference is like, how quick can you get the first 80% out? And the thing that like frees your mind about it is we just tell clients, hey, we're not going for perfect here. Perfect is the enemy of done. We're after a shitty first draft. And when you send a shitty first draft, whether it's an offer, it's a post, or it's a whatever, or a direct one-on-one message, you're going to get two things. You're either going to get a great result, or you're going to get great feedback that something was off. Either way is perfect. Like either way you win. And so we just reframe that there's no bad here. You either win or you get something that makes the next one even better. And that's the game.
And ironically, a lot of those iterations are some of your best work. Like ironically, that's the one that gets the most results. You just a quick email that's like, oh, like we're running this offer. You get your hand raisers versus like procrastinating over and over again. And I even think about like if you're running a challenge or even like our mastermind and so on. Like yes, we had an offer doc for a mastermind. Just for context, I literally put it on my story. We're thinking like, oh, what's the marketing campaign? And then the logic was, I'm going to put it on my story, see who wants to come to Bali. I will send them a doc, and the guys that want to come will come. And then afterwards, I was chatting with one of my mates, and he said, "Well, you could have a VSL, and then you could do it on a landing page, and you could do this." And the irony was like, we had sold out 4 weeks in
Yeah, by then it
advance.
was already done.
Yeah. And that was the funny part, right? It's like, is there a better way to do this? Yes, yes, probably. But does that really matter? No, because we're not optimizing for 100%
We're
being
not
perfect,
optimizing
right?
for better. We're optimizing for, leads, clients, money. There's this old quote. I don't know where it came from, but like sometimes the best way to sell a horse is just to put out a sign which says horse for sale. And you know what I mean? It's like, it's not that hard.
And it goes back to that meme, you know, the meme, the bell curve. And I literally always show out people with just like, on the left, it's just make good content, sell simple stuff. On the right, it's make good content, sell simple stuff. And in the middle, you have like GHL, Zapier, Klaviyo. One of my best mates, I was looking at like her P&L. We were very, very close. I was looking at her P&L, and I was looking at Klaviyo, and Klaviyo was like thousands of dollars a month. And I was like, what are you doing on that? Why don't you just send the email from like ConvertKit for $30 a month? And the woman was like, oh, like I was recommended to do this. And I was like, look, ironically, that one payment was worth more than our entire OpEx in our media company and in our education business. And bear in mind, we have like 10 to 12 full-time people, right? So crazy. Okay. So one thing that you know, I love like the simplicity of your model and like how elegant it is, and it really feeds into like who you are as like a person and how you want to show up for who you are and so on, and the way that you like are optimizing for like freedom, lifestyle, but you also have like that amazing offer and so on. My question is, how do you ensure amazing results without overcoaching, but without not coaching them enough because we're optimizing for lifestyle freedom? Like how do we make sure that we get amazing results for people?
So it starts with caring about getting amazing results for people. And you shouldn't have to say that, but you do. And so then how do you express the care? Well, you can either get people incredible results by, doing this one-on-one a lot. We got good at like turning like strategies and ideas into tactical things that you knew how to do when we first started running workshops. I was like, I'm going to run a workshop. Okay, if I'm going to run a workshop, I need a workbook. And if I need a workbook, I probably need worksheets. Like that was the thought. It's kind of dumb. But what's a worksheet? It's just like breaking down a process into its component steps. And I think the way we teach clients, and it translates a little bit into the public stuff, but the way we teach clients is like, it's got to be this amazing balance between high level, I get it, and eye level, I know what to do with it. And so every great training is like, here's why it matters. Here's what you need to know. And like, frankly, if they get the 3 or the 5 keys right, the philosophy around it, even if they screw up the tactics a little bit, it still works because they're thinking about it right. And then how to wants to be like, I want to know exactly what to do. I want it to be as close to paint by numbers as I can. And then their job isn't to think about the process. Their job is to pour in their content and their personality, and then it works. And so one of the ways we help clients win is by breaking things down into like very easy to follow steps, like it's Lego. The other way we do it is we've built an incredible community where nobody joins Black Belt for the community, but the moment they get in there, they realize that the community is probably the best part of this. I mean, it's an amazing, I'm super proud of it, but the community is incredible. And we've built this thing where the coaches, where the clients in the community coach as much as the coaches do, right? And so it's everyone in the community is filtered by, are they ambitious and are they generous? And if they're just one, they don't belong. So we've got a 60-day love it or leave it period, to like a get out of your agreement period, and that's mostly we're filtering for fit. Like, do we think you can win here? That's sometimes an issue, but it's more, are you the kind of person that we'd love to have over to, at our place for dinner, or if we're going to run a live event, are you going to add to the room or take away from it? More recently, do that. So I could answer this question for hours and I don't want to, so I apologize. Um,
Not at all, man. I love you thinking about the problem. It's a good way to look at it.
so number one, high level to eye level. Number two, supportive community that makes asking for help okay and getting help the way we all win faster. There's lots we could say about that. Number three, I think AIs are pretty exciting. This is the most exciting time to be a coach right now. There's just a bunch of tools we can use to help clients win faster. Yeah. And I was like, if you had asked me a year ago, I was like dead against it. I thought it was bullshit. I was just offended by the idea that a robot thought it was smarter than me. Turns out they're actually really helpful. And then short term, one of the benefits of having your head coach, me in Black Belt, have really raging ADHD is that I'm really good at short term stuff. And so our clients don't do yearly goals or quarterly plans. They do 6 weeks. There's lots of like short term, do this now stuff, which just builds confidence and momentum. And they have to do it live. Like they don't come on the class to learn stuff. They come in the class to do something and finish something. And so my secret goal for every session we run is that clients finish, like they get off the Zoom like a kid in kindergarten, being able to run home to their mum and dad going, "Mummy, look what I made. Look what I painted." Like they've produced a thing. That's probably way more than enough already.
That's incredible. The way that you're teaching is very unique, right? The way that it's more, but it's obviously all action oriented, but it's more integration oriented. And I'm actually just thinking about how we ran our mastermind was like, oh, we did no content. It was all like specific, bespoke Q&A. But the last day was the most important, was because everyone had ideas. And they're like, yeah, I want to start a YouTube channel. I'm going to start this fun. I'm going to do this. And I said, no. We need it to be integrated. We need to do integration. But I never thought about like full integration sorry?
So tell me what you mean by integration. Give me an example.
Okay, so let me give you an example. So the first like 2 days, the way we do this is we do like bottlenecks. So everyone's like biggest problem, what they're winning in their business, what's their biggest bottleneck. And then we categorize it all in terms of leads, sales, and delivery. And then we spend the first 24 hours solving that. Then the community is really strong. We go for good dinners and it's chill. The next day, we're also solving that with some guest speakers. Okay. But then the last day, then everyone has ideas. Okay. So one of our clients in particular, this guy in particular, he was saying he has a sales problem, right? We know he has a sales problem and we were working on that over the weekend. But come the last day, he was like, oh, I'm going to go start a YouTube channel. And I said, no, you don't need to start a YouTube channel, bro. We need to solve this sales issue. So the integration was, what's the 5 things you want to do over this year? For sure. What are you going to do tomorrow? And what's the top 3 priorities from here? And these top 3 priorities could be big things, right? How do we integrate this into your life so that you leave with an action plan? And I feel like the way that you roll this up into almost your daily sessions or weekly sessions is a beautiful way to just avoid the procrastination.
Yeah. So people need different things at like the way you've like thought about the story arc of the event. If you think about that through a session on Zoom, or if you think about that in a month in Black Belt. So, there's coaching calls and there's, workshops. And the workshops are, if there's 4 weeks in a month, learn, do, meet, mastermind, or plan. So learn is teach a cool new thing. Do is bootcamp personal instructor, build the thing. Meet is this dude's just done something amazing. Let's interview them, find out what they've done. 50-50 dose of inspo and how to. And then mastermind is, that kind of, I'm stuck on this thing, help me out with it. So part of it is cadence. And the other, the big piece for us is it's very easy to go to an event like yours, anyone's, and go, oh, I should be doing that. And the truth is that the right strategy at the wrong time is the wrong strategy.
Yes,
and so
100%.
Part of our job is to help make sure that if we do identify the bottleneck or the constraint, that we're solving for that. And so like this morning, we ran our 6-week cycle, 6-week game plan with our clients, which is 6 times a year, everyone gets together and we celebrate wins. We remind ourselves of where we're going, like people get to kind of create their future. And then we've got a tool called the Focus Finder, which like identifies the constraint right now. And if you start a process with, imagine, sorry, man, I'm getting props. Imagine these are all the ideas. that you've just had at the event. And, come to an event, you get like 50. The moment we go, great, you've got all these ideas. What's the constraint? It's whatever that one is. It's conversion, sales. Then all of the ideas which aren't that, well, they get put in the not now pile. They're not dumb ideas. They're just not now. Okay, so now we're left with the 3. Or I've got 4 cards, so we call it the 4. The 4 cards which are about the issue that we just identified. You've got some strategies you teach. I've got some strategies I teach. So we've got like the ideas they've had plus the ones we already brought to the table. And then we want to filter them by impact and ease, So we go, literally, we've got this page called the Big Easy. And this is impact and ease. Oops, I can't spell. And then you just go, okay, low, medium, high, low, medium, high. Literally, our clients collect these, at every session, in every break, every time. They're filling in these little cards. What's the idea for the strategy? How much money do you think it'll make me or save me? Where does it fit? Like, is it an attract, a convert, like, is it marketing, sales, or delivery? How much time's involved? Is it a day, a week, a month, or a whole cycle? Any other notes? So over the course of a few days, they're going to collect a bunch of ideas, and then we just go, cool. What's the constraint? Okay, anything that isn't that, just put that over here. That's in the not now pile. Great for later. And then of the remaining cards, you just plonk them down and like, okay, well that one feels like really high impact, but kind of hard work. Okay, but this other one here is like this. And we're just looking for what we call the Big Easy. And so then we get them to bet 6 weeks of their life on whatever their Big Easies are.
This is so interesting. This is so good. How did you learn this? Like, I remember listening to your podcast with Dan Martell. Like, I know your
Dude, that
background
was
and
a
everything.
fucking awkward conversation. It was great, but I didn't have a pen, so I couldn't think. It was it's really awkward.
It was a great podcast, man. It was amazing. But how did you become such a visual learner and teacher? And how did you create these kind of models? And then how do you teach these models too without being like, oh, we have 7,000 models? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, so I learned worksheets by workshops and just needing to figure out how to break stuff down. So obviously there's a process for like, these are all the things we could do. So what are all the steps? Put them in the right order. Are there any that we can cut and still get the outcome? Great. Are there any that we can collapse together? Because you don't want like the 78 step process, but if we can get it to 9, it'll still fit on a page, or if it's 3 or 4 or whatever. Models I learnt from a guy called Matt Church in Sydney originally. And then the short answer is, man, there's only 3 shapes. There's circles and there's triangles and there's squares, right? Anything else is just like a version of that. And so if there's a topic like, I don't know, marketing, he's like, or a subtopic, the first thing is like, does it feel more like a circle or a triangle or a square? It's a weird question, but you'll have an answer. Like if I say community, you'd go, oh, that's probably more of a circle. Yeah, I'd say so too. If we're talking about funnels, that's kind of a bit obvious, but you get the idea. And then for each one, there's like 3 kinds of triangles I might use, or 3 squares, or 3 circles, your versions of. Dude, it's very hard to explain in a podcast in 6 minutes.
Don't worry about it, man. But it's great though.
I'm really good at it now, but there's a process for it, and we unpack it with, like, we've got to teach clients models. You don't need all of them. All of our clients will have one core model that they hang all of their marketing and their sales and the delivery off. We call it the magic model. And that just makes it easy because now in one picture that they can draw in a minute, they can explain the value of what they bring and they can use it to sell. It informs like, what content should I create? And obviously it's the roadmap for the program they design. And then all the other models are, there's specific conversion models and specific delivery models.
Yeah, I think it's just a huge point of leverage to get better results for people, as in they can just see it, they can visualize it, and they can just be like, oh, that makes sense, this makes sense, that makes sense. Because otherwise, as you said, it's up here, right? It's not contextualized.
Because we got our start, because the flagship part of Black Belt in my first maybe 10 years was like live event based. I really place a high value on physical artifacts and physical tools. So there are cards and sheets and Have I got one under here? Yeah.
That's very old school.
Yeah,
Old
dude,
cards.
I'm 48, so it is old school. But like when somebody, we track monthly income in belts. You know, like white belt is $10,000 a month, a yellow is 20. And when somebody goes up a belt, they get the totem for their thing and they hang their keys on it. And their kid goes, their kid or their friend goes, "Hey, what's with the purple belt?" "Oh, that means I'm at, that means I'm at 60 grand a month or whatever. And I can't wait till I get my black one." And so I think anything, especially as the world gets more digital, the more like physical and touchy it is, the cooler it gets.
That's such a good observation, man. And that's why I want to ask you about events. So I've really enjoyed your content around events lately, about how to run events and so on, and how they flow. And when I spoke to James a couple of months ago, was it a couple of months ago? Yeah, we had a podcast in my house a couple of months ago, and he said something very interesting to me, which was like, events aren't designed to make money; they're there for LTV. What do you think about that approach?
Um, well, it's as true as it is false. Depends on the audience. Like I've run a ton of events to sell stuff and they're totally about making money.
I mean more like a mastermind esque where you bring people together. Yeah, a client event, exactly.
Yeah, they're definitely there for, they're a massive retention tool. They're an ascension tool. I would agree. Like, yeah, broadly, I would agree.
But I think you've done a great job of doing that though in person, right? Because you have the 3 events a year for boardroom, and you're bringing other people into that ecosystem. It showcases like the best of the best, right, at all times, which is amazing.
Yeah. And like they are first and foremost a client community event. Sometimes we'll have guests come depending on available space. And then they obviously sell really well because somebody's just had like a first hand, like it's one thing to say, to hear me go, "Oh, boardroom's amazing," or "Black Belt's incredible, you should buy it," versus, "Holy shit, I'm in this room. Everyone here is an absolute gangster. And they're my people. I found my squad. I want more." Like you don't have to sell very hard when the product's amazing and they've just tasted it. It's like a little ice cream scoop at the shop. They're also really good. They're definitely great for ascension and they're really great for retention. So I'm a very open book. If you want to talk about events, like it's one of my favorite things in the world, I'm very happy. And if you've got other things you want to talk about, we could do that too.
I would love to get your insights into like how you actually structure them. I saw one of your clips around, the beginning of the day is kind of for teaching, and the second part of the day is like for relaxing. And you touched on a really good point about how like our bodies learn and how our minds learn through that process of rest and peace. It's kind of from, if you're, well, you've obviously read 10x easier than 2x. Dan Sullivan talks about how
I started it. I don't think I finished it.
oh,
Sorry, that's a
you'd
bad thing to
really,
admit.
yeah, you're right. You'd
I've
really
heard it's a
love it,
great
man.
book. Yeah.
It's a fantastic book, but it's really like a more of a philosophical book, because he talks in the end about how when you have those white space days, like, and he has like 115 days a year where he does nothing.
Yeah, 3 days.
And then
yeah.
and 3 days, and that's where he's basically getting his biggest insights is during that period of time. So I'd like to get your thoughts on how you run like masterminds and so on through that lens.
Yeah. Well, why don't I just show you, rather than tell you all about it? I think we've done, 15 years of 3 events a year in Australia, plus 3 events a year in the US. It's a lot of events. Like we've done a shit ton of these things. And at the time I was proud of the ones I did, but I used to leave exhausted. So I think the big aha that everyone should take away about events is like this. Imagine you're the person at the front of the room and you're full of great ideas and content and inspiration, and you want to like breathe it into people. So I'm going to use breathing as a metaphor. If you're at the front of the room and you're like, "Okay, guys, welcome aboard," and then you blow out like session 1 to them and it's amazing, but you don't take a break, you don't breathe back in, and then session 2 comes and you give them more in session 3. By the end of like the day, you're like gassed, right? So it's exhausting. And on the flip side, if you're the person at the tables in the seats, you walk in and it's like, "This is amazing," and you suck it in, and then guess what? They give you more, and they give you more, and you're full. Like, "This is great, but I can't take any more." That's what fire hose events feel like. And so you just gotta let the thing breathe, and it needs space. And so let me show you. This is the map for how we run an event. There's a couple of things I want you to, just to kind of quickly point out. Vertically, where's my, here we go. Yeah, here we go. So this is like time of day, early morning, afternoon, late at night, and these are days. So this is mapped out for a 3-day event. You could use the same format for 1 or 2 or 5. I think 5 is probably a bit ridiculous. We used to run 9 to 5, and they were really good, but they were a lot. And I don't think anyone really got any breakthroughs in session 4 on a whole day event. Like, if I'm honest, it's just like they were full. If the event's done right, they'll get all of the value they need in session 1 and 2, and then everything after that is just like an amazing bonus. And so in our events right now, we run half days. So this highlighted blue area, we call the event call, which is like, this is the stuff that happens in a room. And the mornings are for working and the afternoons are for play, is kind of how I think about it. And it's not just like white space, choose your own adventure. It's deliberately designed to create connection. Because I think a great events have 4 things which happen. Or to design a great event, you need to think about these 4 things. Focus, like, are we working on the right stuff? So vertically, it's like focus and learning. So focus is like, is it the right topics for the audience? And learning is like, can they, to your word earlier, like, can they take it, integrate it, do something with it? Is it high level to eye level? But a lot of events are like that. It's like, you think about, like, they're basically just Zoom with table mints. It's like, you know what I mean? It's just like content. It's great. But what about horizontally? Horizontally, why do you come to events? Well, I don't know about you, but socialization, I want to meet some great people or reconnect with my buds, deepen that relationship. That's huge, especially if you run a community. And collaboration. Like, if you can get the clients helping each other out, then you build this, like, it's not just you and your client. There's this whole third entity of like us, which is amazing. And so the whole thing's built around that idea of like focus, learning, socialization, collaboration. So let's talk about this bit, and then we can chat about the stuff outside if you want to. But mornings are for work. So for us, typically that's like 9 to 1, 3 sessions a day, about an hour and 10 minutes per sesh. Short break in between, 10 minutes, just to go to the bathroom, get a drink, hang out with people. Maybe it's 15, but like relatively short, because we've got the whole rest of the day to kind of hang out together. And we don't need to. You don't need a half an hour morning tea break when we're only together, like, learning for a little bit. So each of these 9 sessions, not only is it different content, often they're facilitated by a different human, but more importantly, they're all different formats. So they don't just feel like, oh, guest speaker number 1, swap out, guest speaker number 2, teaching different topic, guest speaker number 3. This is like, it's the same with a different face. We don't want that. So the formats are different because then they're engaging. Yeah. So, hello is what we call session number 1. And this is just welcome and frame the event. They review, clients will like look back, figure out all the stuff that they've learned and they're proud of, because that's good for building momentum. They'll jump into breakouts and share their biggest wins and how they did it. So now they get to go, oh, this crowd's amazing. State of the Union, 10 minutes where I get to talk about, where either we as a company or we as a community or we as an industry, where we've been, where we're at, where we're going, which allows me to like set some focus and intention. Back to your earlier point about LTV and retention. Now they know that I'm taking them somewhere. And there's a bunch which go, and then like a walkthrough of the event. So that's session 1. That's enough for that. There's one session where I teach a thing. It's a workshop. Little bit of, if you think about the 3 styles of delivery in a teach, there's like a tell, all eyes are on me, and I've got slides. Then there's a show. It's not slides, it's a flip chart, and we're like talking through a model. And it's about us in the shared conversation. And then it's ask, which is like, okay, now do the thing. And it goes from slides to, to flip chart to workbook, and I'm doing the stuff, with my hands. So that's a teach. That's the only session where there's Taki teaching content across 3 days, which is kind of awesome. I don't know a lot about your community yet, but a lot of people, as their community grows, they'll have, it might be like one program, but it feels like there's different subgroups, like beginners to advanced, or these guys are new and these guys have been with you for a long time. And so having them in the same room, in the same sessions the whole time is a danger.
Interesting. Why is that?
If you're a pro and you're in a room where they have to teach the baby turtle stuff, it gets boring really quick. You're over it. If you're a beginner and they're teaching pro stuff, it's over your head and you feel like I don't belong, I don't get it, I'm not going to make it. And so I like to have the subgroups kiss but not live together. So when there's a session that's great for everybody, I want them all together. When it doesn't, I want them separate, either in a separate room or in a separate table or in a separate activity. So here we do belt breakouts. So this is at least 3 different groups. And so we'll break them out by 10 to 30K a month, 30 to a mil, boardroom a mil plus. Even in boardroom, frankly, like 1 to 3 mil is a thing, 3 to 10 is a thing, 10 to 30 is a thing. So we either split by stage or we split by topic. Attract, convert, deliver could be breakouts. So that way there's something for everybody. And my goal is that it's always everyone's turn. It's not like a relay race where it's like, oh, they're going and I'm sitting here waiting for my go. Is that helpful?
Yes. How do you, so double tap on the last point, do you mean that they're all in the breakouts synchronously, basically? So that there's one people over there, that's the sub 20K months?
Literally, it might be as simple as, depending on the size of the space and the number of people, it might literally be in this corner, you guys are going to go here with that person, you're going to be working on X, and you guys are going to be going over there and talking about that, and you guys are going to come with me over here.
Amazing. And then for context, like that, the facilitator is teaching in that regard, or would that facilitator just be like, what's the conversations in our breakout rooms? Are they doing shit?
It could be all of the above, and depending on what happened before it, it could be either. Now the thing, a day's got a energy curve to it. Like most people are more fresh in the morning and less fresh in the afternoon. So if they're less fresh in the afternoon, even though it's still like technically morning because we haven't had lunch yet, but it's the 3rd session. Generally, we're going to do more like tell and listen at the start, and more move, discuss, do in the afternoons, generally speaking. And so I don't just think about how to make a session good. I want to think about how the flow of the day goes. And so this is usually much more talky. This session here is a mastermind, people in groups of 6, talky. Hallway, like 6-week game plan. I need everyone focused at the end, like to integrate to your words before. So it's facilitated in a really engaging way, but it's not a discuss, but this is a discuss. So every day's got a little bit of all the formats.
That's so interesting. Reminds me of a better way to run a school system.
100%.
the way that you think about it.
Yeah, and all it is just going, okay, what's the experience I want to create? What's the feeling I want to have? Alfred Hitchcock, I don't know how old you are, dude. I'm old. So Hitchcock was this movie director. He made thrillers, psychological thrillers. And apparently he's a director, and he had 2 scripts for every movie, one on blue paper, one on green paper. The blue paper was like what happens, like man walks in, gets attacked by birds or whatever. Yeah, whatever that the action and the words were. And the green script was, while that's happening, how do I want the audience to feel? And so that would indicate lighting and music and stuff. And so if you think about this, like, how do I want my audience to feel? Here, excited, I'm in the right place. It's amazing. Oh, that was epic. Like energized and fun, right? Then we run Sensei sessions. These are my favorite parts of the event. We handpick 4 clients who are doing amazing things. Typically there'll be, and it's like, what have you done in the last 4 months? Because we get together 3 times a year. That has made the biggest difference to you in terms of attract, convert, deliver, or scale, the 4 kind of core areas for our world. And so we pick 4 clients, 1 for each. And we do this in 2 parts. There's an 8-minute TED Talk each in front of everybody. And so this is like the trailer for the movie, but useful. Not just like, oh, it was great. It's like, this is what we did. Here's one piece of it. And then we have a quick break. And when we come back, Sensei session 2 is 50-minute deep dive. People get to make the hardest choice. They make the whole event, which is like, which one of these ballers do I want to go hang out with for 50 minutes and go deep on? And then it's a workshop or it's Q&A or it's whatever. Mastermind, the more you can get your clients to help each other out, the tighter a community you build. Guest speaker, day 3. And it could either be they teach or you interview. Either way is fine. Hallway experience, I don't have time to go into, but it's like roundtables around different topics. And then 6-week game plan, which is the capture cards and the focus and the mission and the big easy. So that's what happens in the morning.
It's so interesting, right? Because that's just so it's so on the it's just action oriented. Like everything you're doing is action oriented. It's getting them to actually just do shit and be able to understand what's moving next. But what's most important, and one observation I had of my events, my two masterminds, was one in the evening. So we had dinners both evenings, both masterminds. But one we had like activities, like a gym workout, we do things together, and the other one we didn't. Okay. And the one that we didn't, one of the feedback from one of the guys there was like, "Oh, I wish I had that. I wish I had it." Again, the connection piece, right? So yes, they got more content in Mastermind 2, but they got less connection because they weren't doing shit together. Now we still had dinners and stuff. Interesting observation though, right?
Yeah. So then if it's an in-person event and you've just gone like, okay, the morning is going to be knock your socks off good. And that gives you early morning, lunch, afternoon, dinner as opportunities for connection. The real goal of the afternoons for me is like, can we create memories here? So they're like, oh, remember were you at the event in Fiji? Yeah, that was the one where we blank. That was the one where we rented the epic floating bar in the middle of the isle, in the middle of the ocean, and drank and ate together and jumped off, and we snorkeled out to the thing, and the waiter came over on a speedboat with our drinks. Or that's like he's creating memories. I think when it comes to the activities, obviously this is all numbers of people dependent. Like some of these events are like we do stuff here at my house and it's 12 people. Why? Well, because there's 12 chairs around the dining table, and that's the reason why it's 12, right? If we do like Fiji was like 100, I don't know, 40 or 50 or something like that. And so the more people, you can mix up the afternoon activities a little bit. And I think you want to think about introverts and extroverts. Introverts probably want a little bit more chill, and they've just been in a room with a lot of loud people, and maybe they don't want more of that. And so we'll typically have like think about a spectrum from like chill, like, so we'll rent out a section of the beach, and that's like our section of people just hang in cabanas and they can swim or they can do whatever. To pamper, like if it's all dudes, you probably don't need this, but if it's a mix, there's like spa, massage, that sort of stuff. Active or extreme, and you don't have to have all the options all the time, but we usually will have like each of those 4 options for people, and they just like self-select where they want to go.
That's beautiful, man. That's such a good point. You've really mastered this, dude. You've mastered this. This has been such a great masterclass, man. No, but even just all the miniature touch points, like the way that you teach, the way that you bring everything together, the way that everyone comes full circle, like, big thank you to you for what you've been able to put out over the years, and big thank you to the way that you're getting results for people. Like this has been amazing, and yeah, I want to say a huge thank you. This was such a great conversation, man. And what I love most is the way that you think about it, the way that you think about the problem. That's why I asked you mostly, like, how do you think about this? How do you think about this? And it's a beautiful way to look at it as well. So big thank you, sir.
100% welcome. This is great fun. I appreciate you.